Welcome to Bible Conversations. What you're about to hear is a conversation starter. We hope that you will be encouraged to go out and start a conversation about the Bible.
There are so many things that we can learn from the life of David. Specifically in 1 Samuel chapter 17, we read the account of David and Goliath. And within this passage, there are so many things that we can look at and apply to our lives today as Christians. See, the story of David and Goliath goes as David was at home tending the flock and his brothers were away at war. Well, when his father sent David to go bring supplies to his brothers, David realized that the entire army of Israel was cowering in fear at this giant, a Philistine named Goliath. And David wouldn't stand for that. David stood up. He spoke before the people, before the army. He tried to rally the troops, if you will. And eventually, David was the only one that was willing to go and fight. And so King Saul brought David in and tried to give him some of his own armor, some of the king's armor. And David said in verse 39, "I cannot go with these, for I have not tested them." So David put them off. And the part that I want to focus on today is actually in verse 40 of 1 Samuel chapter 17. Like I said, there are so many little tiny details that we can take from this story and really from the whole life of David to apply to our lives today. But in verse 40 it says, "Then he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine." The part that I want to focus on is the fact that the stones were smooth. Now, for those of you who know the story and have read it 100 times, you've probably read over the fact that David chose 5 smooth stones. But it's an important note, because when David goes down to the creek, he doesn't just choose some jagged stones from the edge of the brook. He doesn't just choose the first 5 that he sees. David had to wade into the water, because where do you find the smooth stones? You find them where the water's rushing over them, causing the stones to be smooth. So David had to go into the water. He had to search for it. He had to find 5 smooth stones to be prepared to fight. A lot of times we read stories in the Old Testament and we see how God is victorious, how God provides the victory for everybody, or for the nation of Israel, over and over and over. And we often forget that the individual that God provides victory for must put in effort as well. David had to put in effort as well. You and I today, we need to put in effort as well. God provides the victory, and only in Him can we find salvation. But we have to put in effort as well. We can't just sit back and, quote, accept Christ into our hearts. We need to be active Christians. Thank you for listening to today's Conversation Starter. We want to ask you to please let us know, what kind of conversations are you having in your life based on these conversation starters? And also, if you need any help, need anything that you want us to record a conversation starter about, please let us know.